New York City socialite Gigi Jordan, a pharmaceutical exec worth $40 million, right now sits in a Rikers Island jail cell awaiting trial for the murder of her 8-year-old son, Jude. Gigi told the media that she was trying to protect her little boy, so she checked the two of them into a $2,300 a night hotel suite, barricaded she and the boy in the room, and forced her severely autistic son to take a fatal dose of pills. Then she took pills as well. But she was revived, and some are calling this a premeditated murder and a fake suicide attempt as an alibi. This story has many layers that we'll be looking at. Did years of living with Jude's severe illness cause Gigi to decompensate? Was Gigi's claim of a mercy killing a mother's act of, well, love? All right, we're going to get into this in just a second. Before I do, I want to say thank you to my previous guests. I didn't have a chance to thank them. Of course, Rusty Yates for hanging in during a very difficult discussion, Mark Eiglarsh, and Dr. Brian Russell, and, of course, Bethany Marshall for joining me as well. Thank you guys for that interesting conversation. We will have you back for more. But joining me now is attorney Areva Martin and criminal defense attorney and former New York Assistant District Attorney Tom Curran. Tom, take us through what you know about the night that led to 8-year-old Jude's death in a hotel suite.
Well, there's a series of nights. Evidently, on February 3rd of 2010, Ms. Jordan and her son checked in paying cash into the Peninsula Hotel at 55th and 5th Avenue in New York. Over the course of that time, there was administered to little Jude Mara, a lethal dose of narcotics. And by the time the police got there, on the evening of February 5th, 2010, evidently rigor mortis had already been set in, and he had been dead for a number of hours. On the floor next to him was his mother, Gigi Jordan, and and there were pills strewn all about the room. She was revived, asked what did you take, what did you take? In court papers, it suggested that one of the first things she said is, I want my lawyer. She has been arraigned, and the case has been going on now for since February of 2010. There have been a number of defense lawyers who've been representing a succession of them, many high profile, who have represented Ms. Jordan. There have been defenses proffered. A psychiatric defense was proffered by her first lawyer, Mr. Shargel. That was subsequently withdrawn. And there is a conditional psychiatric defense has been proffered, which really isn't a psychiatric defense. Under New York law, if you proffer a psychiatric defense, you have to submit to examination by the district attorney's psychiatric experts. She's refused to do that thus far. So, although the judge has ordered that, and we'll see whether that goes forward.
Okay.
You have a defense here. You have a defense here that basically combines 3 different types of legal defenses, and I use that explicitly because they are legal defenses and they require certain things, different things. But there's kind of a combination, apparently, of defenses that encompass justification, duress, some necessity, evidently, argument in this
I want to talk about
altruistic
is an interesting term in this case. I want to talk about the duress. Reva, my understanding is you have a very personal connection to this case. Can you share that with the audience?
Well, I'm a mom, and I have 3 kids, and my youngest son, Marty, has autism. So this story, Drew, really touches my heart. When I hear about any kid dying, of course, I'm upset, but an autistic kid.
Does it touch your heart because it makes you feel ambivalent knowing how difficult it is to a parent of an autistic child, or is it just somebody harming an autistic child?
It makes me feel bad because this mom in particular had a lot of resources. And most of the families that I work with in my practice and my nonprofit, they don't have the resources. So when I hear that this boy was banging his head, that he had these difficult behaviors, the first thing comes to mind for me is that this mom had the resources to get interventions. And there were so many things that she could have done to protect this kid.
Areva, we've been talking about families in denial tonight. Is this another denial? A lot of people go into denial and don't get the necessary resources to really help these kids.
Well, we're hearing reports that this mom was traveling all over the country trying to get help and apparently going to see doctors and different specialists. But what we're not hearing is that the mom really understood his condition and that she was doing those things that I know from personal and professional experience can help a kid even with severe autism.
And by the way to help an autistic kid is not to drag them all over the country. There are plenty of resources in every environment.
She's in New York City.
To stick with those resources.
She's in New York, one of the biggest cities in this country, and so many resources, so many professionals, so many things that could have been done to help this kid. And yet to hear that this mom thought the way to protect him was to kill him is just disheartening.
It's just, Mr. Kerr, how do you think this is going to play out? If you had a crystal ball, what would you think?
If I had a crystal ball and knowing particularly Kerry O'Connell, the prosecutor involved in this, who's a very able prosecutor, there are able defense lawyers involved too. But and the judge, Judge Solomon's a very fair judge. If I had a crystal ball, she's going to be convicted. There's been findings by several courts of overwhelming evidence here. She appears to me she doesn't want to offer a psychiatric defense and was, seemed sane, legally sane in the interview that she gave to the New York newspapers. I think that she's going to be convicted. I wouldn't want Kerry coming after me, and I think they're going to proceed. There's some real skepticism about whether she attempted to commit suicide at all.
Okay.
She was a professional nurse, let's remember, and a pharmaceutical executive. Yeah. She managed to kill the son. She managed to kill little Jude, but somehow avoided killing herself. Okay. And according to court papers, the first thing out of her mouth was to ask for a lawyer.
Okay.
It sounds very cynical to me.